So welcome back to another video, guys. Today we've got the official images now released of the LEGO 747 Shuttle Carrier, which I talked about in a video around 2 weeks ago and provided some leaked images. So today we've got the official images from lego.com published on their website, and just wanted to show you those images today and just give you my thoughts. So let's take some time. You can see the website on the screen in front of you at the moment, and we can see some of the images that LEGO have now released. So this is going to be set number 10360. It's a 2,417 piece LEGO set, and it's aimed at 18 plus ages, as you can see from the box art that we discussed previously. When I published the previous video a couple of weeks ago, the comments were mostly negative about people's views of this set. They aligned with what my feelings were, which was overall it was a nice attempt at a 747, but there were certain aspects of it that just fell short of the mark. In particular, things around the nose cone and the horizontal stabilizer at the back, and also the size of the engines. So I was hoping that the images that we're seeing today from LEGO might give us some more detail that would give me a more positive opinion. And in actual fact, I'm not completely negative on the LEGO set now that I've seen it in same person, but I've seen the actual three-dimensional real images on the LEGO website. I'm slightly more positive about the set, but in any case, let's scroll through and have a look at what we've got. So the first image, you can see the LEGO Enterprise shuttle based upon the back of the 747. The things that I was particularly bothered by were the shape of the nose cone and the way that the nose cone looks unfinished. And also, someone else pointed out in one of the comments in my previous video about the number of windows not being correct in a LEGO in the 747. I'm not that much of a aviation buff to kind of spot finer details like that, but I believe that they are correct. And then when we look overall, you can see that the Enterprise is mounted on the back of the 747 onto a display stand, and there were 2 plaques on there as well. If we scroll further along, we can see some of the images with the Enterprise ship detached from the model, and you can still see the nose cone. To me, from this angle, looks unfinished. And when you turn the model over in just a second to look at the landing gear on one of these shots just further along, you can see at the front of the aeroplane why the belly of the plane is the shape that it is. Is to allow the landing gear to retract into there and to fold away, but I just can't help feel that they could have made this more circular, more smooth, more curved, with 2 flaps that perhaps closed together after the landing gear retracted. I feel like that the sharp angles that they've put on this just doesn't work. That was my feeling originally when I did the original video, and it's still my feeling now. In my previous video, I mentioned about the fact I didn't know how the landing gear actually retracted, but you can see the cog on the belly of the plane here is actually what you turn in order to operate the mechanism to wind the landing gear up. That's quite clever use of technical elements to fold the landing gear away, and you can see that they fold away quite nicely, which I think is quite good. And if we scroll back, there are plenty of images for you to see on this one. So if we scroll further back, we can see the Enterprise and the 747 from the front. And I think actually it doesn't look too bad from this angle. It's probably wider than I thought it was. The original images, it looked quite thin along the length of the fuselage, but actually I think it looks reasonably good. The engines, to me, probably still look a little bit small, but I think that's probably due to the outer casing of the engines looking a little bit thin, maybe due to limited pieces that they got to use for this, and also the same for the turbines of the engines. Don't look particularly great, but then they're not set back into the engines like they probably would be in reality. Then you can see the images of the Enterprise and the 747 detached from each other, side by side, and I think the proportions are reasonably good, so good looking overall. And then we've got the images of the undercarriage and the Technic mechanisms that allow these wheels to retract into the aeroplane. One thing that I did notice when I was looking, if we scroll back on one of the previous images, with the side view of this aeroplane, is that the windows along the sides of the 747 I would have hoped were going to be print pieces, but when I look at some of the alignments of these, I do wonder whether or not they're going to be sticker elements, just because some of the alignments seem to be off. That may be because the way that the pieces have been put together, they're ever so slightly twisted. But yeah, some of the alignments seem slightly off in the image when you actually zoom in really close. So I wonder if these are stickers. And if they are stickers at £200, I'll be quite disappointed about that, to be completely honest. When you zoom in and look at the US flag, these look like stickers. The NASA logo here is stickers. The United States and also the flag on the Enterprise shuttle are stickers. I think from what I can see, the only print piece is possibly the NASA logo on here. That may be a reuse of a piece from the Saturn V rocket. As I say, from this angle, I think it looks quite good. I was worried originally about the number of studs on the wings of the aeroplane, but actually I don't think in reality they look that bad. We've got some nice smooth curves to the edges of the wings, which I think look quite good. Someone mentioned to me about the horizontal stabilizer being off. As I say, I am into airplanes, but I'm not a massive 747 or aviation buff, so I wasn't quite sure what they meant by this. But when you look at the model in closer detail from one of the other angles, if we can find it, then you'll see what's meant by it. You see here, there seems to be a big gap, and it doesn't really seem to tie in very well with the rear of the aeroplane. But again, we're dealing with Lego bricks, so they're not going to be entirely perfect. So yeah, I think the display images, when we see it displayed, I think actually look really nice. I think particularly at this angle, the shape looks all right. The aeroplane looks a decent size. The nose cone looks a decent shape. It's only when you get closer up and start to look at the front, particularly in more detail, I think it starts to let itself down. But overall, I think my opinion of it is probably slightly improved by seeing these images. But I do still think there are areas of this where it just could have been done better. I'm not saying I could do any better as a builder. I mean, from this angle, it looks really nice. But again, bottom, front of the airplane just looks a little bit unfinished. And then the nose cone itself just looks a bit odd. Comes with two plaques that give you the details about the Enterprise shuttle and also the Boeing 747. So be interested to know what you guys think of this. Now that you've seen the official images, are you any more positive about the set? Is this going to be one that you're going to want to shell out $230 or £199 for? I'm not entirely sure, if I'm honest. When I see the set displayed, like they've got it here and also here, I think it makes me want to buy the set. But yeah, there's just other aspects of the set that I think could have been done better. The set seems a bit rushed to me in order to get it out. But be interested to see what you guys think of this one. Put your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you again in the next one.